released by the president.
Okay.
So on Tuesday, 23rd September 2025, this was a message from the presidency. And it says, President John Dramani Mahama has, in accordance with Article 1441 of the 1992 Constitution, forwarded the name of His Lordship, Justice Paul Bafo-Boni, to the Council of State for consideration as Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana. Justice Bafo-Boni has, throughout his distinguished judicial career, served with diligence and integrity at the High Court, the Courts of Appeal, and currently the Supreme Court. He has made invaluable contributions to the development of Ghanaian jurisdiction. He has earned the esteem of the bench, the bar, and the wider legal fraternity for his intellect, impartiality, and unwavering commitment to justice. His wealth of experience and long service on the bench render him eminently qualified for the high office of the Chief Justice. His Lordship has been serving as acting Chief Justice since 22nd April 2025. This was released on Tuesday, 23rd of September 2025. And we will get to you pictures of Justice Paul Bafo-Boni if you don't really know him. We will get that one on the screen shortly for you. Yeah. So that's the person you can see. Now, any comment?
Yes, so once again, we visit Article 146 to find out what it talks about when it comes to removal from office. And when you go down in its sections, you realize that under Section 7 or Section 6, that is, it talks about the removal, where there's a petition for the removal of the Chief Justice from office. Now, when that happens, now it goes to talk about everything that it talks about it being on camera, it talks about a whole lot of the procedures which have actually been followed. But now, let's now come to terms. When someone is removed from the office as Chief Justice, now does that then automatically disqualifies the person as being fit for office, as in being fit for being a justice of the Supreme Court? That is. So now we are going to look at what it says under Article 146, that is subsection 1 or section 1. It says that a justice of the Superior Court or a chairman of the regional tribunal shall not be removed from office except stated misbehavior or incompetence or in the ground of inability to perform the functions of his office arising from infirmity or body or mind. So this is what it's saying. This is the grounds on which you can remove someone from from office. Now, the petition that came. Now, they did mention the petition that was brought to the president for the removal of the Chief Justice. Now, they did mention that she was incompetent, or they did mention that she had misbehaved, or she's seen as being incompetent. So now it's now up to the courts. That's why she filed this particular application, to determine whether she is indeed not fit for office in terms of she has misbehaved. Whatever the court would deem misbehavior per its translation is what we are going to find out. Whether, according to her actions, that the petition was carried out, whether that is going to be tantamount to misbehavior as interpretation by the by the court, the High Court, that is, then we are going to find out. So this is quite an interesting one, and we'll be following that keenly to find out the interpretation of this particular. And then, mind you, when this particular verdict is given, it's going to set what we call a slippery slope, because although it's not a pronouncement by the Supreme Court, but it's also binding on lower courts, that is. So that means if, let's say, you're a school prefect, and then you're sacked or you're demoted as being a school prefect, does that automatically remove you as being a student? That is, these are some of the cases that we are going to find out. Whether maybe there are different examples. Maybe that wasn't the clearest of examples, but there are sort of a lot of examples that we can actually come out of. And then this is also going to set a slippery slope in terms of how it's going to be determined by the lower courts as well.
Thank you so much, Nana, for this input. There's another school of thoughts. They are saying that you were the head, the Chief Justice. And if you've been removed as a Chief Justice, coming back to serve as a judge, sometime like they have belittled you. So they are of the view that since you've been removed as a Chief Justice, then automatically be removed as a judge of the Supreme Court, because it might belittle you. That is what other school of thought are saying. But then, as you said, we would revisit this conversation and bring viewers more details of this very story. But if okay,
belittling you, because those are just sentiments.
Exactly.
And usually the law doesn't take sentiments to bear.
Sure.
Even the spirit of the law does not take sentiments to bear. So when we follow the letter of the law, we are going to find out whether the conditions for removal from Chief Justice were tantamount to misbehavior and incompetence. And if that is determined by the court, as Article 146, Section 1 says, then we'll be able to find out the way to go.
Okay.
I mean, there's more to this. So there's a pending case before ECOWAS, which we're also waiting for the results. And then just yesterday, I think, yes, yesterday or so, a private practitioner has also petitioned Yoko to, dig into the Chief Justice's the alleged misconduct and the misappropriation of funds. So he has petitioned Yoko to look into that issue. So we'll be looking forward to that as well.
Okay. Another trend then before.
It was just the Chief Justice's story has maybe clouded almost everything as well. And now that the school placement issues are also there, which I'm sure we'll be delving deeper in. But then it goes to say that a statistic from 2023 and 2024 shows that usually 95% of people that write the BEC are placed. But then after that, close to 19 to 80 to 20% of those people that are placed are not given the schools that they chose, or there are a lot of things in and under. And yesterday I watched the news on Express Updates on Clock TV, and then it highlighted some frustrations and all that.
So, Nana, as we said, we will talk about that one as the last story. But we want to talk about this story quickly. That's PURC increases electricity tariff by 1.14%, holds water tariff unchanged. So, the Public Utility Regulatory Commission has increased electricity tariff by 1.14% effective 1st October 2025. This is the story. This is what is happening. Now we'll be speaking with Mr. Samuel Ato Agre, the General Secretary of Food and Beverages Association of Ghana. But before we bring him on board, what is your take on this story?
Well, when it comes to the increment of utilities, and then you know that definitely what we were told at the beginning of the year, the president mentioned that we are trying to stabilize the economy, and that I'm talking in terms of the disposable income of people in the country.
Exactly.
Now, we were told that salary increments are going to be capped at 10% for this particular year, and was further reiterated by the mid-budget review that salary, and then the reports to the IMF as well. But in that particular report, or the reports prior to that, the IMF conditionalities, they said there will be quarterly adjustments of public utility rates. Now, when it comes to quarterly adjustments, it doesn't mean that you are going to increase or reduce it. It means that it doesn't necessarily mean you are going to increase it. It can also come as a reduction. That is what we were actually informed and told. That adjustments does not necessarily mean that you should increase it. And now, some time ago, this year alone, we've seen tariff increase about three in combined all percentage points. They are more than 30%. And when you put that as against the 10% cap on salary increments, which was done in January and effected in March, thereabouts, you realize that the Ghanaians are the ones suffering. And a lot of people, once again, always, when I'm giving this platform, I reiterate that they claim, or the government says that inflation rates is actually coming down. And that is true. When you look at the economic variables, you realize that inflation is actually coming down within 14 to 13%, and I'm sure it's even coming lower than that, as against the 9% target or the single-digit target that the government sets. But then we should also understand that inflation reducing doesn't mean that the prices of goods are not going up. Inflation simply means the extent to which the price of goods are rising. So if the inflation is going up, or it's reducing, let's say initially we are 30% and now we are at, say, 20%, or now 12%, it doesn't mean that the price of goods are falling, but then the rate at which they are increasing is rather falling. So if you come and you cap salaries, you do all that, and then you still come and then increase public utility rates, I'm sure if in the conditionalities of the IMF, in the mid-budget review and all that, there are a lot of fiscal consolidation projects that were ongoing. So I'm sure if you had actually included in the notes that to sort of cushion citizens, we are going to hold the quarterly adjustments of the utility rates, and then we'll hold it constant until next year when we realize that okay, there can be an increment in the cap of allowances and salaries of workers. Then we can also say that then that's going to be coupled with at least easing the utility rates hikes, because look, you go and buy electricity today, it's at this particular price, you go tomorrow and then it's at this price, and it's something that we really have to think about and work on.
Thank you very much, Nana. Peter, I think the statement released by ECG was the fact that one, exchange rates.
Exactly.
Two, there's a service charge is increasing, and they also cite other inflation as another point. So these three
costs.
Yes, these 3 or 4 things are the instant they cite for the increment. Is it right? Can they boldly say that these 4 things really contribute to the increase that they have now got as 1.14%?
Yeah, so like you rightly said, they stated the CD depreciation as a factor, stating that somewhere in June, the CD appreciated to 10 cedis to the dollar, and currently it's about 12 cedis to the dollar. So they stated that it means that the prices of goods actually will go high. And then Nana spoke about inflation, which of course they said, they mentioned inflation. And they also mentioned fuel costs. And the weighted average cost of gas stands at $7.713 per MMBTU, which influences electricity generation. And they also talked about power generation mix. Ghana's power generation mix remains relatively stable with 28.8% from hydro sources and 71.2% from thermal plants.
Okay.
And so, there are a whole lot of questions to ask, like Nana reiterated. But then what it means to the ordinary Ghanaian is that, so the difference now and then to what will happen on the 1st of October is that for lifeline residential consumers, that is, they consume 0 to 30 kilowatt per hour, the current rate is 79.53 pesos per unit. And the new rate will be 80.43 pesos per unit. So the difference is just 0.9 pesos per unit. And then
0.9 pesos.
0.90 pesos.
That's 90 pesos.
That's less than
90 pesos.
Yes. And then residential users, that they use 0 to 300 kilowatts per hour. The current rate is 1 cedi, 62 pesos per unit. And then the new rate, they are going to pay 1 cedi, 64 pesos per unit.
So,
and so
Nana,
the difference
is there changes, is it insignificant? Will you say it's insignificant?
No, you wouldn't say it's insignificant because that's per unit. And then you usually buy huge volumes of that particular unit.
Okay.
And you realize that although the adjustments may seem a little, imagine you purchase electricity in a month for your business worth 100,000 for your machines. That means it's going to increase by at least 1,000 cedis.
Okay.
So that is not a significant amount, and there are institutions that purchase more than that. In a month.
Okay.
So, and that's even for commercial. And coming to domestic, you realize that the rates are fairly even. I don't want to use the term insignificant because it is still felt. The thing is, once you just allow and say that these adjustments are insignificant, if it's insignificant, then you shouldn't have increased it in the first place. You should have made adjustments to maybe as part of what this just came to mind, as part of the adjustments that you are doing. When you do plus or minus maybe 1, just so that it cushions you for the long term, because you don't want to be seen as a reactionary business or tariff adjuster, where when this particular price or this index goes up, then you sort of maybe sometimes when you're setting it, you cushion it by a buffer. That
Okay.
let's say we are cushioning it by 2 percentage points or that.
Thank you so much, Nana. Peter, I'll come back to you. I think you're giving us a very nice update. We have Mr. Samuato Agri, the General Secretary for Food and Beverage Association of Ghana, who is on the line and will be speaking to this very story. Good morning, sir, and welcome to Clock TV.
Yeah, good morning and good morning to your listeners as well. I think the line is a bit faint.
Oh, hello, sir.
Yeah, I'm saying I cannot hear you very well.
Okay, so we are working on that. Please, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I think it's okay. I can manage it.
Okay, so last week we talked about utility tariff increments, that is the hikes and its effect on businesses. And you made us understand that it's not right for it to happen at this point in time, looking at how things are going. Now, PURC has brought out a statement at 1.14% increment in electricity tariff. How do Food and Beverage Association accept this news?
Well, thank you very much. Either way, for us, it's very difficult. Every consumer, what it means is that we need to pay a little more over what we are paying now. Looking at the increment that was done in the last 2 months, which was 70.02%. That is why we're saying they shouldn't do any increments for this year again. But if you look at the percentage that ACG was requesting for, that was almost above 25% in the consumption rate. Then what it means is that given the 1.2%, then it means that they did not even get 1.5% of what they requested for. So if we are to accept it the way it is, I would say perhaps URC has been very magnanimous with the rate that they've given them, and therefore we accept it the way it is. But I would say, unfortunately, we will have to pay more. The other side of it is that Ghana Water, I would have wished they have gotten the increment, and then ECG denied even a zero increase. Because if you look at the rate, the water that is being treated for consumption, and how much has to be going into the treatment, it's a lot of money owing to the galamsey factor. So they said their treatment cost has gone up over 300%. And therefore, I would have wished they got that percentage. But as it may, whatever calculation that you see PURC is doing, I foresee that definitely we are going to see a very high increase in percentage for Ghana Water. Okay. If not 10%, then it could be more. Okay. So we should brace ourselves for the changes that is coming.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much. The last time we raised a point that ECG has been always requesting for increase in tariff. Recently, government gave them the energy sector levy to deal with all the shortfalls in terms of energy sector at the Ministry of Energy. And also, there are a lot of things put in place for this ECG. People are saying that the issue with ECG is mismanagement and other related activity. Do you think that ECG should pay attention to that aspect, to illegal connections and this mismanagement issue, so that ordinary Ghanaian will not be burdened with increase in tariff every every quarter of the year?
Yes. If you look at the energy sector levy that was introduced, I can tell you for sure that by now we've had enough money to take off whatever that we expected to solve. And therefore, ECG was the main factor. Those who are using power to produce those energies, the fuel cost is what they rely on, and governments keep on paying so much. and therefore that was the only way they thought this could come on, and therefore we'll be able to solve the problem going forward. So all of us agreed. We went to Parliament. They agreed that we should have this 1% increase. That is why you didn't hear hue and cry from the consumers. So we paid, and we keep on paying. So I expect that if there was any increment, ECG will fall on the energy sector levy, and then the ministry could release that money for them to do whatever that they want to do. But unfortunately, this is the way they want us to go. So I expect that PURC, based on the agreement that we had, that if fuel consumption goes up, definitely it's going to affect the distribution factor, and therefore we need to also adjust. But if you look at the inflation now, it's 11.3%. It's no more 38% as we used to cry. They cry for, and they request for a higher increase. If you look at the city today, we are around 12%, 12 cities, 50 pesos. It wasn't like the old regime where we were using 16.5% in doing those calculations. So you could see a drastic fall in the calculation, in the perception that they have been using to make their calculation. So therefore, I don't see why even if PURC should grant them that percentage. The other side is that if ECG is making 60 or 70%, between 60 to 70% of their collection, right, and corruption taken out, I'm telling you, you will have enough money to grant ECG, even at that 60%, not 90% collection. So at that 60%, they will have enough money. From time to time, ECG, the inflation drop and the city appreciating, definitely consumers deserve better rates. That rates will be coming down. If for nothing at all, we should remain where we are. But at this rate, if you look at the lifeline consumers that are consuming below 25% kilowatt, 25 kilowatts per hour, they are going to pay around 75 pesos. 70, my calculation was right, yeah, around almost about 80 pesos that they have to pay. And then those consuming from 25 to 200 and beyond, they're also paying a higher rate. And then those consuming the 400, that is the heavy industrial machines, we are going to pay more. So if you look at the rates, you would think that 1.14% is nothing to cry about. But then if you look at the end payment that you are going to pay, you are definitely going to pay a higher rate of consumption. So it's most unfortunate, but since they did not get what they want at 1.4 against 25%, we'll take it in good faith and then see how best in future we can push them. But the fight is not over. We are still going to push them, push PURC, and then push ECG themselves for them to do the right thing, because there are so many things going on which are not right. Okay. And therefore they need to, as it were, rewrite or reset their system to ensure that they operate efficiently.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much. Before you go, my colleague Nana Yawasari has a question for you, so I'd like to take that one.
All right, Mr. Agri, thank you very much for your insightful input on this particular matter. But I would want to find out, in your opinion, when you look at the ECG, one of the main reasons why they remain underfunded is coverage. So would you rather let them expand the scope of their coverage? Because when you go around, you realize that there are a lot of places, especially when you visit some places that are not well planned in the slums and all that. A lot of people that consume units of electricity without paying for it, and it's also provided by the national grid. So you realize that a lot of units are being consumed and it's not matching the kind of amount that goes to it. Do you think that instead of increasing tariff prices, ECG should rather, and then the PURC should actually find ways to expand their coverage to, or their net to touch or catch all those people who illegally connect without paying for this power?
You see, ECG, the operations keep on questioning and interrogating. Just as you have said, there are so many leakages. What are the leakages? The leakages don't go through through thin air. It's people who consume the power illegally. That are the leakages. So therefore, if they are properly zoning the areas, as it should be, then we could say every 200 homes, if they have a plan there, you can really tell how much the consumptions will be. So this will allow them to properly zone the areas that they are supposed to collect the power. If you go to a place like Agbogboshe, for instance, where or those places that we call the slum areas, and you look at the way the places are structured, people tap power from one end to the other, which is not coming from the main line. So therefore, if they're able to go to these areas and plan them well, they can get some money from there. If you go to the residential area and then properly look at how the meters are structured, they can get money there. That is why I said, look, the meters that they are using, if they take 1 meter to Ghana standard for them to standardize it, and they said it's okay. What about the thousands and the millions that they are putting in the houses? So therefore, every machine needs to be calibrated properly for us to know that this is how it's supposed to be, just as we do with every machinery that we use in our factories. If you go to the filling stations, they do calibration for all these machines. Why is it that ECG alone, the machines are not being calibrated? So Ghana Standard Authority is supposed to walk into your home and come and check whether the consumption that you are consuming and the payment that you are making reflect exactly the units that you are using. If you are using more up against the things that you are using, they are supposed to adjust it to the proper calibration. They are supposed to do that. But why is it that only these meters that belongs to ECG, nobody can card, only them? So the power that you buy that is supposed to take you 10 days. Rather, it takes you to 8 days, sometimes 7 days. You need to go and buy more. Even when you reduce the gadgets that you use in your homes, sometimes the power goes off. When it comes back, it could be that all your current that you bought for that week will run out when you still have current unconsumed. It will run to zero. Is that the machine that we are using? It needs to be calibrated for us to see what exactly we are consuming. Number two, if you look at the zonal structures that I'm talking about, every home that is being constructed is supposed to be marked at the very beginning. And then they are supposed to be told the kind of cables that they are supposed to use, the kind of wiring that they're supposed to say. They need to certify most of these contractors or the electrical engineers for them to be able to do these things properly. And once they finish construction and put up these installations, ECG must go there automatically, fix that meter there, calibrated meter there, so that the deductions that they do when they fix the meter can then give meaning to. They don't have to go there, even write to them that you need to have a meter. The very beginning that you start your construction, you inform them, and then they plan for you. So once the construction is done, at the time that you need the power, they bring it, and then for free. Then the minimal deduction is done over the years, over the weeks or months or the years that you are consuming or using this gadget. But unfortunately, you will go there with your own fuel, write the application, and pay for the meter. And it takes only forever for the meter to come on board. And once the meter comes, you can tell how much money you are spending in these collections. So it's a bit of a challenge that all these things are not being done. Even when you are going to ask for the meter to come and use it to pay them, they still reluctantly will not come, and then they overcharge you for the meter that you requested for. So it's most unfortunate that we have to allow these things to happen. That's why we are saying if ECG is able to collect about 70%, between 60 to 70% of the consumption rate, they will be able to make money. And if you look at the way we are doing it now, you need to pay in advance before this power comes in. So if I have to pay for that, it means I'm paying an upfront money for that service. So they cannot tell us that they don't have money, the money is not coming. It's because they are not doing efficient collection. And if they are doing, and even the ones that we are giving them, it's more than what they did expand. So for them to expand their facility, it is not for me to pay for them to expand. They need to do whatever it takes, even to borrow to expand their facility for us to pay for. But we don't have to give them money to expand their facility, and when they finish, they come and charge us on top of it. Because it's business that they are doing. They need to do their service, and then for them to be able to charge with the consumer. So it's unfortunately that we are not interrogating them enough. If PURC is supposed to give them a target of correction, between the time that they are supposed to come back for new rates, they should set a benchmark for them to be able to achieve. So if they don't even achieve 90% of that, you don't give them anything. You tell them to go back. But when they're able to do that, then definitely we'll look at it, whether they deserve more or they deserve a reduction. So this is how we need to look at all these things. And therefore, proper interrogation and meeting them, offering to discuss all these things will take place. Very soon, we'll put our case before the government for them to look at it the way it's supposed to, because we can't continue increasing. Because if you increase electricity tariffs even 2% every 3 months, just imagine in the next 3 years, how much are we going to pay for consumption? So if it remains like this, they will relax, and they will tell us that, oh, when they need the money, when they go, they will get it. So what they're supposed to do, they will not do it. So I think this is the way we need to measure them.
Really well. Thank you very much, sir. But before you go, I just want to find out, you've mentioned a few solutions like ECG calibrating their machines to make sure that they have inventory or stock of whatever that is actually leaving and the units being consumed and all that. But with all that you've mentioned, just in a few words, if you can just summarize and then tell me, why isn't ECG, what is stopping them from doing that? Why aren't they doing that?
Because of corruption. Simple. Because there are people who benefit from this system. So they will continue doing that. That it should happen for them to make the money that they want. So we need to look at it very well. We, the consumers, need to demand the right thing to be done.
Thank you so much, Mr. Samuato, our Great General Secretary for Food and Beverage Association of Ghana. We are so much grateful for your submission.
Thank you very much.
Please have a nice day. Peter.
Right.
This is where we started from. So a very quick one, so we move the next step.
All right. So the last one, the non-residential users that use above 301 kilowatt hour. Currently, the rate is 2 cedis, 38 pesos per unit. And the new rate, they are going to pay 2 cedis, 40 pesos per unit. And so this one, so the difference is 2 pesos. Yeah. So like he rightly said, so it means that ECG has to do a lot. And what I've been saying, out of corruption and mismanagement and all that, it goes round and come to the ordinary Ghanaian. The burden is being put on the ordinary Ghanaian to pay for, excesses and all that. And so going forward, I think we need some of these solutions like he stated so that ECG going forward, they can do the right thing and so they wouldn't burden us. It means that every quarter of the year, they increase. There is an increment every quarter. And so, how long can we continue with this? And so proper measures should be put in place and to be able to, retrieve the amount of money we desire.
Okay, thank you so much. I think now you raised the school placement story, of which I want us to go into that. But before that, let's talk about the TEWU strike. Just a minute. They are on strike.
Yeah.
About condition of service.
Yeah.
I think yesterday, Peter, you were outside. You visited some schools to witness whether the strike was really going or not. Could you just give us an update on that? Then Nana comes in.
I mean, so like you rightly said, the strike is really, it's very effective. It is biting. And so with the number of schools we visited, you could see that the security personnel have actually deserted their post. Cleaners were not around. And when we go to the kitchen, the workers there too did not come, all because of the strike. And that, you rightly said, they are demanding for some conditions of service, and government has not yet given it to them. And so they are still on strike. Even when you go to the universities, most of the students there are writing the exams, and then they need these, non-teaching staff to help to run the exams smoothly. Because of the strike, they are not around. And so the few people you see there are those providing essential services and those who are contract workers and all that. And so the strike is very effective, it's ongoing, and then students are lamenting because we have cleaners who are supposed to keep the environment clean, the washrooms and all that. And because they are on strike, students wouldn't want to do it because they have cleaners who are supposed to do that. And so most of the students are in debt and they are complaining of that. And then security too is at risk. Because how can a whole school be running without security because they are on strike? And so we are pleading with government, the NLC, to immediately, get them involved and just give them what they are looking for so that, peace will prevail, because the security of teaching staff, students, and all the other people is actually at stake as we speak.
Okay, thank you so much. Nana, they are saying that their condition of service has expired since 2008. What is the way forward?
So they are also not just saying that, but they are also putting the blame to the government for breaking industrial relations peace. That's what they actually said. And their general secretary, that is King James Azotiba, who is a very, very good friend of Clocksag, was also there in and about in the news talking about some of the reasons why they are not. These are especially for the non-teaching staff. Now, these are people who play a vital role in the running of the educational system in Ghana. Now, some of the reasons why they cited for this, let me just quickly go on, is that some of the demands that they are saying is that